Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor. And it's a big weekend of racing, of course, for the channel as well. Live on Sky Sports Racing, it's St Leger Saturday at Doncaster. As well as that, we're also going to take a look over at Leopardstown as well. Now, I'm being joined as ever by Sam Boswell and Declan Rix. You two both had a good time with things last weekend. Both of your nats winning. Very well done for that, Dec.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, bolted up Master Builder, actually. I was kind of going, what's Bill Buick doing here? He sat last, but he had plenty of horse. Came there travelling and he bolted up as well. Yeah, it was a real shame Prague couldn't win the race earlier in the card. I was cursing my luck after that. But look, the selections are running well. That's all you can hope. And sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. Yeah,
well, both of you two had a good time and thing. So well done to you as well, Sam.
Yeah, the Reverend looks a really, really smart horse. I'd be staggered if he can't win again this season. The ground was absolutely perfect, and David Probert certainly wasn't slowing down on him at the end. It was an impressive wide margin win, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go next with him.
Yeah, definitely. So much to look forward to then for your selections. Now, we've got loads to go at, though, this weekend. But before we get stuck into the action, a reminder, as ever, to please do gamble responsibly. Our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will still do our best to point you in the right direction. Right, nice, easy race to kick us off at Doncaster, the 2:25, the Portland Heritage Handicap for the 3-year-olds and over 5.5 furlongs here. 13 to the field, Dec, which goes to tell you everything you need to know about this race.
Yeah, it's a tough race. You're going to need plenty of luck. I always like to start my races with pace, and I think there's pace right across the track here, so I'm hoping wherever you're drawn it's going to be fairly fair. Having had a look back at the recent winners of the race over the decade anyway, I think there's only been one winner drawn in a single figure stall, so I found that was interesting, and I think it's a race being dominated by 4- and 5-year-olds. I think they have won 7 of the last 10 renewals, and I am with the 4-year-old in Holcomb Bay, who 2 starts back on Shergar Cup Day at Ascot, which we're going to see now. He was very, very impressive. You know, as we always say, it's worth going on to bettheraces.com, watching the race from the start. But I just love the way Rachel Vinegar was able to pull him back into mid-div. Just looked the horse who was well ahead of his mark, and to be fair, he absolutely bolted up. Now, he does come here on the back of a disappointing run at York, but I think you can excuse that run because he had a really high draw that day, and I think the ground was too quick. If he produces this run with Brandon Wilkie taking an extra £5 off his back, he will go very, very close from his draw in 12. So yeah, I'm going to kick off the show this week with Holcomb Bay, who is an 11-to-1 shot. But if the vibes about him are good, I can see him easily going off single figures, maybe even fav.
Yeah, this market is going to be fascinating to see which way it plays out then as we get closer and closer to the off time. But 11-to-1 currently for Holcomb Bay for Dec. Sam, who do you like?
Yeah, good argument, Dec, actually. You've probably convinced me to have a bit of a saver because he was on my shortlist. Bergerac was on my shortlist as well. But the one I've come down for, we're in the bar with my selection because I'm going to take a bit of a swim. I had a nice success with Mr. Professor earlier on in the season in a big field handicap at Doncaster, a big price. So I'm going to try and repeat the trick again with Wallbank. That is a really curious runner. Like many ammo horses, he's kind of been around the block in terms of his trainers. And we're going to see some footage. This is going way back in the day when he was running at Royal Ascot and finished a good second. But let's just take his more recent runs. He went off to Meydan in the winter and won on his first start out there before disappointing the next day. And I did look through the notes and there was actually some legitimate excuses for that. I think it was lame afterwards. And I kind of thought to myself, I'll leave him in the tracker and see, because I don't follow too much of the stuff in the winter. And he's come back to Goodwood and run a really nice race to finish 4th on what was a reappearance after a break. Clearly is back into reasonable form. They've waited here, and I think the ground should be right. I think the mark is okay. The only concern I have is the draw. He is, probably in the wrong place according to statistics, but he is one of those 4-year-olds that could be open to improvement. Fingers crossed the team have got him right. And I just felt he was overpriced. He was a double-digit price. He was an each-way play in what looks a competitive race. Extra places on offer. You've got to try and find one, haven't you, to back each way here.
Yeah, and your selection then in the bar. Nice video, though. That did take us way back then, back in the day. So always good to get a reminder, though, of what they did in their previous years as well. But, OK, both of you two have made good cases for each-way players in here. My one is not as big a price as both of yours. Albashire here, 9-to-1, third in the market. So still a good price for all that he's still third in the market here. He has had a great time of things this year. 3 wins, 2 on the all-weather and 1 at Ascot in July that we're seeing here. So he does have a liking, seemingly so, for all weather or turf with a similar composition. But of course, he did win at Doncaster on debut 4 years ago. But he's top weight in this race because in the main of his Ascot success that we're seeing here, defeating Emperor Spirit, who had the run of the race. He then went on to Albashire, went on to the Stewards' Cup with a penalty. Now, he was probably on the right part of the track, did run well enough in that before a lesser effort at York. Definitely was on the wrong part of the track in that one. Last time out, though, much better. Back at Beverley again, back down to 5 furlongs in the listed Beverley Bullet. And he was the only one to get anywhere near from off of the pace. So he does need things to drop right for him, admittedly. Maybe this will tee him up for the Air Gold Cup then, but he's fit, ready to fire. So I don't see why they would waste a bullet in this one. So Albashire for me, Deck.
Holcombe Bay for me, please.
And Sam.
Woolbank for me.
OK, 3 different selections. I mean, it's only right, to be fair. We've done well just to stick to 3 for now. I feel like we're going to add to those selections later on when we reveal our best bets, so all the same. Right, we're going to move on to the 3 o'clock at Doncaster now, the Group 2 Park Stakes. 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs. Now, Kinross, who won this contest in 2022, he heads the betting in this one at 9-4. So, Sam, is he a play or a lay for you?
I wouldn't lay him, but I'm after some redemption here, guys, because I don't feel like Lake Forest gave me what I should have got when he was at York, because I know people are suggesting the audience ran below himself that day because of what happened with Lake Forest in the stalls, but I'm still convinced that there's a big race in Lake Forest and we're going to get the opportunity to see if I can get that run here. I don't necessarily think this is an easier race, but we're going to watch the replay of his Newbury effort. Now, I'd like to have seen Elite Status and Inisherin, who he's finished behind this season, have run a bit better at Haydock last time out in a Group 1. But I'm not going to let that put me off. The manner of this run, when you watch, I think it's Tom Marcon this day, coming through late, the step up to 7 is definitely going to be right up his street. I'm convinced of it. I'd like to see the ground continue to dry. Better form seems to come on those good to firm surfaces, so fingers crossed Donny escapes any more rain. But he's going through the line there, and I just feel that he is worth chancing in a division which, to me, I always find quite difficult to find angles in. You can play him each way at 5-1 if you want. Kinross, I respect him, Kate, and I know he's your old favourite.
Yes.
But he's a bit Goldilocks and 3 Bears, isn't he? He kind of always just to this, to that, and I don't know, he's not getting any younger, is he? And at some point his powers will fade, and 9-4 doesn't interest me. So I'm going for Lake Forest. Hopefully Kieran Fan can have another big sprint winner.
Oh, poor old Kinross. Yeah, Goldilocks horse then Kinross. I thought you were going to say he's just a bit too old. He's a bit... We were pretty much going down that route. But yeah, Lake Forest, he is still unexposed, isn't he? He could be the fly in the ointment. And he could well upset any number of horses drawn around him this time as well, let alone upsetting himself at the start. So that's going to be pretty key to watch then.
He'll be fine, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think maybe Lake Forest probably wants quicker ground. It'll be interesting. We're kind of just that time of year now where the ground's really struggling to dry. Kinross, I think, will enjoy the ground, won't he? He probably hasn't had a soft surface to run on all year. But I agree with Sam. I think Kinross makes the market for a bet here, and I'm happy to take him on. I just don't think he's the horse of old, which is fair enough. You know, he's getting on. He's not like he's massively regressive. He just seems to be getting a little bit, he's maybe kind of 5 or 6 pounds below what he was last year and maybe even the year before. But after all that, I think it's a race that's going to be run at a good gallop. There's 4 or 5 horses here who do like to go forward, and I just think that's really going to suit Poet Master. Now, I loathe to side with horses carrying a penalty, and he does carry a penalty after his Group 2 Minstrel Stakes win last time out. But I just thought of the prices, even with the penalty considered, he was the most overpriced. And this is him winning at this meeting last year, so we know he can win in the second half of the season, and he likes to get his toe in, and he's also got course and distance form. But I just think 7 furlongs, pace to run at on decent ground is really his bag. And the other thing as well, he hasn't run in 55 days. I think just being a little bit fresh suits this horse. So while the other horse will be knocking 7 lumps out of each other, he's going to be nice and fresh in the stable at home. And again, going for the Carl Burke team. The penalty is the worry, but I just think at the prices he might be able to get away with it. There's plenty of pace on here. Lead Artist, I thought maybe should have just been Fav, but he's dropping in trip on softer ground. So I hope they all beat each other up in the front end, and Poet Master can come through late under a PJ McDonald, who's picking up a lovely spare because Sam James is, I think, suspended or injured. So yeah, Poet Master for me, hoping to master this field.
7-1 shot, and literally just copy and paste everything you've said and I'm just going to repeat it basically about Poet Master in here, because about Kinross as well. I as you both know, I adore this horse, and I don't buy into thinking that he's a shadow of his former self by any means. It probably is £5 or £6 below, which still would be good enough to win this, but it's just the price for me in comparison to the 7-1 about Poet Master. And we were looking back at his success at this meeting last year, winning a handicap easily off of a mark of 92. Just a second handicap start over the same course and distance, 7 furlong specialist, progressing rapidly, Deck, as you said, that Group 2 Cora success. And I just feel like this division is now open enough for him to take full advantage. So I like everything about his profile, apart from, the draw potentially in one and the penalty.
Yeah,
two not ideal factors.
No, I think I'd rather be drawn. I think he's on one wing, isn't he? And Kinross is on the other. I'd rather be drawn where he is as opposed to Kinross. But we'll see. PJ McDonald will just have to get him out of the stalls in one piece and hopefully get some cover early while the lads on the front end are beating lumps out of each other. Yeah,
exactly. And being drawn on the wing, then, if you've got all that pace in front of you anyway, it's less of an inconvenience. And after last weekend, I'm throwing draws out the window anyway. After the Spring Cup, draws are gone in my mind.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. Sam was saying you would have liked Elite Status to run a little bit better in the Spring Cup. I thought those horses drawn high it looked like they weren't really favoured in the Spring Cup, so there's maybe a little bit of a bias to those horses drawn low.
The other way.
So you're telling me that 5-1's overpriced then about Lake Forest, because if those two had run their races, they've been drawn elsewhere, surely he'd have ended up a shorter price.
True, but I think he needs to show he stays 7 furlongs as well, doesn't he?
Don't you worry, Deck. We saw the VT. He's going to stay.
And to behave himself and to get the job done then as well. Yeah, 5-1 then Lake Forest for Sam, and Deck and I both with Poet Master. Do let us know in the comments section who you are selecting for that contest. And also, before we move on to our next race, talking about YouTube, a reminder to like and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. Right now, we are on to the 340 at Doncaster, the Group 1 St Ledger. Of course, the final classic of this season for the 3-year-olds. Over the mile 6.5 furlongs. That half, John Gosden will make sure you remember, because it's a very important factor. Now, Aidan O'Brien clearly has a strong hand in this, chasing an 8th success in the race. You two are in agreement in this one. So, Deck, would you like to kick it off?
Yeah, we will. I think there's just the 7 runners. Ballydoyle have 3 and they probably will control the race. I think it's probably pretty straightforward in how it'll pan out. Grosvenor Square will go forward, won't he? That's his bag. And I do respect him now. I wouldn't like to see him get too loose on the lead, Grosvenor Square, because I do like him and I'd respect him, especially at the prices. But I just think in terms of raw ability, Illinois, Jan Bruegel and Grosvenor Square, I think they're all in around the same ballpark. But Illinois has run 7 times. Grosvenor Square has run 7 times. Jan Bruegel has run 3 times. And he, for me, is the selection and the horse with the most upside in the race. And I just think this fella has been a serious work in progress. You can see how big he is there. Aidan said he was being a little bit hard to train earlier in his career. It's why we've only seen him late. But you know, it just goes to show the raw ability and talent he has, but through greenness and rawness, that he's been able to stay unbeaten. And, you know, he did win last time out in the Gordon Stakes, beating a horse of Bella Justum's class, giving him weight. You know, I thought it was a huge performance considering he didn't handle the track great either. And then late in the race, I think he's a horse who saves an awful lot for himself as well. You don't really know where the end is with this guy, so he'll be the selection for me. What I did love about him at Goodwood was he sweated up beforehand. He got a little bit warm, and it just suggests to me now that the penny is maybe starting to drop mentally with him. If he has stepped forward again for that run, I really like him, and he's a great ride for Shawnee Levy to pick up. Obviously a former rider at Ballydoyle. I think he was maybe one of the first ever apprentices that Aidan ever had with Sean Levy. So it's a great ride for Sean to pick up. And, you know, hopefully he can turn back the years and go close. One thing I would say before just wrapping up, it'll be interesting to see how the market goes with the Ballydoyle horses, because obviously they've got 3 live contenders in here. So, but I just thought at the prices with more upside, Jan Bruegel was the one for me.
Yeah, the betting is, again, going to be fascinating with these Aidan O'Brien runners because, of course, Ryan Moore not there. He is going to be over in Leopardstown.
Which is a shame, isn't it? Like, why do we have such 2 massive days clashing on the same weekend? You know, the British and Irish fans want to see Aidan in Britain. They want to see Aidan in Ireland, obviously, well, and the same with Ryan Moore. It's maybe something we can look at, like Galway and Glorious Goodwood. Why do they clash in the same week? It's just, it's too much, it's overload, but that is just the game in itself. But we we digress.
Yeah, like you say, we could have a whole separate topic then discussing that, but Absolutely. It is a true fact. But also then with the betting, the fact that we don't have Ryan Moore on any of these to really lead us in, Sam. Yeah. So it makes it tricky enough on that part.
Yeah, but like you said earlier, I'm with Jan Bruegel as well. Deck's not really left any stone uncovered with him. And maybe it's the unexposed nature of him that really jumps out to me in comparison. But you used the word raw, the exact word that Ryan Moore used after getting him off him at Goodwood. And I love going back through the old quotes and you reread what Ryan was saying. Interestingly as well, after he ran at the Curran one, this race was earmarked. He said, Aidan said, we're going to go to Goodwood and then we're going to go to the Ledger. I love a plan like that because it shows that he is right in his thinking that the horse will continue to develop and grow. Listen, the favourite is respected in my book, but it is a price thing, and you've alluded to it. It's had a long enough season already in terms of just being seen plenty and in a few wars, whereas I just love the way that Jan Bruegel's been brought through. Obviously, we saw the horse he beat Goodwood go and win in America. I'm not quite sure what that form's worth, but it's always nice to see that kind of form boost. Others in the race, I do think Rafe Beckett's filly's a really interesting addition. Yeah. She has been really transformative this season. I saw her in the flesh at Lingfield when she won that Oaks trial from the front, obviously then went to Ireland and that was a really professional performance. So load of respect for her as well. Grosvenor Square will kick on and I think make it. Deck, I know we were talking, you were just slightly concerned he could nick it from the front for our selection, but I'm fairly sure Sean's going to be tracking him through the race.
He's just one of those horses I think jockeys hate to ride against him. It was a good, I remember like good old Owen Soul. It's that kind of, it's that debate in a jockey's mind. Do I chase him now or do I chase him later? And sometimes they leave it too late. He's just kind of that fly in the ointment factor, I think, in the race.
Yes, so you two then in total agreement about that. Did you have another point you wanted to make there, Sam?
Well, I just think, I know a few people have crabbed this and I appreciate it's maybe not the best Ledger we've ever seen, but, you know, David Minister Someway is a very respectable horse in here as well. You know, you can go through and make some cases for it. For me personally, I was just looking to take on the favourite. Jan Bruegel for me was where I came down at the prices. I think 4 to 1's fair and the market will be very informative.
Now, you two liking the unexposed profile then of your selection in here, and you just said about Illinois being a battle-hardened type then. Well, that's exactly what I want on my side in the St. Ledger. For all that, we haven't got anywhere near the ceiling of Jan Bruegel. But Illinois, though, for me, he's just proven. I can't throw any stones at him at this point. And, of course, he is slightly different in terms of his running style, the way that he carries himself. But I don't think there's any doubting his attitude at all. Thought he ran a cracker at Lingfield, second behind Ambiente Friendly. Then skipped the Derby, head to Royal Ascot, was also really likeable. Seeing him here winning the Group 2 Queen's Vase, again in super gutsy style here. And according to RPRs, though, last time out was actually his best run when second at York behind Los Angeles, who of course is Leopardstown bound this weekend. But only to be beaten a neck in the Great Voltage was again such a result, really, under a Group 2 penalty as well. He looks tailor-made for the test of the St. Ledger by the way he hit the line. So there isn't, as I say, a stone I can really throw at him. So Illinois for me at 15 to 8. But both of you two then with Jan Bruegel. So the Battle of Ballydoyle, let it commence. And again, do let us know in the comments section who you are selecting. I will get my L's in the right way around at some point. And hopefully I will get my L's the right way around in our next race at Leopardstown. Because, of course, as we've already teed up, massive weekend of racing, and we have the Group 1 Irish Champion Stakes at 3:25. So all the action is going to come at us thick and fast. 3 year olds and over 10 furlongs in this one. Now, again, economics is heading over. 5 to 4 favourite, trying to take on the might of Aidan O'Brien, who's won this 12 times, including the last 5 renewals. But William Haggis's charge is taking on Aidan O'Brien, Sam.
Yeah, intriguing contest, something for everyone. Great to see economics. Feel like we've not seen enough of him this season, but then when you look at what he's achieved to date, potentially just shows you why William Haggis knows what he's talking about. For me, there's so many in here that I do like and make cases for, but it came down to a pricing. Luckily enough, touch wood, we've got the dead 8. I thought Los Angeles at 11 to 2 is an absolutely stonking price to at least be making the frame. And a few people probably question why he's at 1 mile 2, but let's not forget he's won over the trip this season. And I thought the effort in the Great Voltage was a really big run, really big. And, you know, Ryan Moore said doesn't need to go up in trip whereas everyone else seemed to think he does. And obviously they come here over the 1 mile too, which is intriguing enough in itself when the St Leger was a possible option as well. And later on the season could be going elsewhere. I just feel that there's some real class to this animal, and interestingly, he's becoming more professional. I was lucky enough to see him before the Derby, where he was a bit of a paddock negative from memory. Still ran an absolutely cracking race in that. But at York, he looked the more polished professional. I think, obviously, he's a younger horse in here having to take on his elders and gets the concession rate. But the size of him, I actually weirdly think that will help him here. He's not a small horse by any stretch of the imagination. I love a physical, imposing type. And I think potentially he could pick up the pieces. Obviously, pace-wise, you've got Hans Andersen in here. And me and you were talking beforehand. You think Luxembourg might be involved towards the front as well?
I cannot wait to see how this race pans out tactically, because the favourite is Economics, who's by a horse called Night of Thunder, who is a Darley stallion. He's running on the Coolmore's home turf at Leopardstown. So if Gus Roden doesn't win, I think that the Ballydoyle will be doing everything in their power to make it very difficult for Economics. Look, that's the game.
The cynical view.
Well, go back and watch the year Roaring Lion won the Irish Champion Stakes. He was drawn in 8 of 8 as well that day, and I can see a similar race kind of panning out. I can see Economics being pushed out wide early and kept out wide, and Tom will, to counter that, he'll probably have to take back. And then that will probably mean a Gus Roden and Luxembourg and other horses have got a nice break on him, and they'll hope to hold on late. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it pans out tactically from that kind of nature. But I just thought, I think it's a tough race to have a bet in. If I knew Luxembourg was in good order and wasn't there as maybe a spoiler, I thought he was the bet of the prices with first-time cheek pieces on. But I just think a Gus Roden on drying ground, I think I'm going to give him one more chance, although if I am backing him, I haven't backed him yet, I will be backing him very late, because if you remember, he was quite weak ahead of the King George in the 3 or 4 minutes before the off. Maybe that was down to ground, I'm not sure, but I just thought at the prices he was the bet for me. I had a Gus Roden running to 119 winning the Prince of Wales. I had Economics running to 118 winning in France last time out, but I just think the draw is going to make everything very, very difficult for Tom Marquand. And in terms of stallions given Gus Rodens by Deep Impact, out of Rhododendron, he is the stallion horse for the Coolmore team to win. So I suspect if he's in good order, they will do everything they can to get him to win.
Just as they did last year in the race, and the British jockeys who went over were shown up a little bit.
The lads took the bait early there, they did that day. There was a good few, Jim Crowley and Kevin Stott as well. I can see Luxembourg pushing forward, maybe staying out wide, and then Hans Andersen giving a Gus Roden a lovely lead into the race. But look, that's why we like these races. We don't know how they'll pan out, but I'm fascinated to see how it'll pan out tactically.
No, but Ballydoyle are the tactical masterclass. So
well, we say that they absolutely butchered.
But apart from last
King
time
George.
with August Rodan, when I napped him.
And I think I was with him that day as well. That's probably the worst I've ever seen them. I've never seen them get a race that wrong. They surely won't do it.
Trust us to be on it confidently that day then as well. But August Rodan, he just fries me. So I'm going to take him on again this time.
Okay.
I napped him last time out, so you know what's going to happen, and it all went P-tong last time. So now I'm going to take him on again and back in this race again as well. But Economics, though, for me, I love this also. Come on, Night of Thunder, one for him then. But as I say, it's a patient approach with Economics, though. Still only a 3-year-old. Miss for Derby, Miss for Royal Ascot, Miss for Juddmonte International. So if he goes and wins this, though, none of us will mind the fact we haven't got to see him in any of those big races earlier on in the season. And this time, last time out at Deauville, winning the Group 2 of these, picking up the Hampton Court winner, JRB, so impressively as well. And he just coped with conditions well, considering it was top of the ground there. But hopefully then that will give Connections confidence that they can perhaps chance it again. And this clearly shows his versatility in terms of the ground. And of course, I'm scared of Ballydoyle and what they're going to do to him then in this race. When we look back at last season and this contest and just how wrong it went for those horses that went over. But Economics, I just think regardless of all of that, on sheer ability, I think he's the most exciting horse so I love Los Angeles, but I still think Economics is the most exciting horse in this contest. So 5-4 favourite, all the same, but Economics for me, Sam.
Oh, Los Angeles, I think if you like each way thievery and want to upset our traders, 11 to 2, the dead 8. I mean, I think he'll be involved, put it that way. And I wouldn't be shocked if you think there's going to be some weakness behind August Road Inn. I think that price on Los Angeles will shorten significantly.
We'll get the balaclava out, Dec. Who are you with again?
Yeah, I'm with August Road Inn. I haven't backed him yet, and I'll be backing him late because I want to see what the market does late, because it obviously got him very right in the King George. For all, they made a complete mess of the tactics that day.
Definitely so, yeah. So hopefully hopefully tactically they'll get it wrong again this time. What are we talking about? Yeah, August Rodan then for Dec again. Do let us know who you fancy for that massive contest at the weekend in the comments section below. Right, time to head over to the sofa to give you our best bets for the weekend. Now, the all-important part, our best bets for the weekend. Dec, who'd you like?
Yes, 2 of the selections we have covered already, but the nap is going to be good old Jan Bruegel in the Ledger. I just think with all those Ballydoyle horses in there, they're of a similar ability, similar talent, but he has got more upside given he's more unexposed. And I just think last time out when he won at Goodwood, the penny really seemed to be dropping. I don't think we know how good this horse is because he's been so green, so raw, and he saves plenty for himself. So up to Shawnee Levy, I hope he wins a classic for Ballydoyle. And then the next best is going to be Wolf of Badenoch in the Champagne Stakes at Doncaster tomorrow. I think he should be favoured for this race on the back of his vintage stakes run at Goodwood. That is the best single piece of form in the race for me, and I think he should be favoured. And that's when you bear in mind, I thought he was too green early. He didn't handle the track great, but he finished his race out really well. There's a bit of pace in there for Jamie Spencer to chase on Saturday, and I think just the slight easing and going will make it more of a stamina test. That will play to his strengths as well. And then the long shot we've already covered. It's going to be Holcombe Bay in the Portland. You can excuse his run last time out at York. The ground was too quick and he had an awful draw. If he replicates a Shergar Cup win with Brandon Wilkie taking off a further £5, he is no 11 to 1 shot.
And your nap is being boosted as well then by the traders.
Yes, so yeah, I was supposed to mention that myself, but I forgot. But thank you, Katie Tracey.
You are so welcome. Yeah, but I'm just fascinated to see about that boost. And again, do head to the website or the QR code in screen to take advantage of that boost. Sam, where are we going for yours?
We're going to Ireland, Kate, because we haven't actually touched on the supporting card for day one of Champions Weekend in Ireland. But Porter Futura, for me, has been an absolute star this season. That form behind Opera Singer for Donica O'Brien's filly, I just really excited to see her back. It's a big weekend for Tom Marquand. 11 to 8, I think is pretty fair. As long as we don't get a deluge of rain or something weird like that, I'd be fairly confident that she'll go very, very well. Lake Forest for me, 5 to 1. I'm still convinced that there's a big run in him. I think the sprint division always throws up a bit of a strange kind of result or two, but I'd say that the run behind his two runs this season when he's second on both of them, I think there's going to be more to come going up in trip. I'm pretty convinced 7 will suit, 5 to 1. And then we did touch at the top of the show on Wallbank, my each way selection, or long shot I should say, in that competitive race at Doncaster. I'm just really, really hopeful that it'll come on for the Goodwood effort. I think the mark is workable. The draws are concerned, but fingers crossed, like all the draws this season, we just read it wrong and it actually goes low rather than high. And Kate, before I go, just on our boost, clearly the traders think Tom Marquand's going to have a big weekend because they're going to double up my nap with yours.
Yes, so we're doing something a little bit different this week. Dec is getting an individual boost for his nap. Now, Sam and I are doubling up then with both of our naps. Now, to add to Porta Fortuna, I am going to put in Economics as my nap. Hopefully that ability will come to the fore then for him in the Irish Champions Stakes. And, of course, getting lumps of weight then because of the age concession. Also, steady approach, which hopefully will reap the biggest rewards of all then for Patient Connections. Now, next best at 7 to 1 is going to be the aforementioned Poet Master, mainly because of that price, really. 7 furlong specialist. He won a Group 2 impressively last time out. And with this division looking wide open at the minute, I thought that this was a gap he could exploit. Now, the long shot have to go for the Portland Handicap. And with a 16 to 1 shot in here with Aberama Gold for that man, David O'Mara. Now, admittedly, he ran no race in this race last year, sent for 8 to 1 off of a mark of 100. But his form at Doncaster, if you just strike a line through that run in this race last year, is really superb. So he won at this track over the bare 5 furlongs last year for a mark of 96. So he's now rated £9 below that waited to go well again. Back at the track, he gained his last success at, and he's been racing consistently better than it may initially look. So 16-1 for me. Economics, though, the nap, and as Sam said beforehand, that we are doubling up our naps, Porta Fortuna and Economics, for the boost for us too. So again, as a reminder to head to the website or to use the QR code to take advantage of that boost. But that's everything from us on this week's show. So a big thank you to Dec and to Sam for all of the hard work, as per usual, lads. Big thank you to you at home for watching. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. Enjoy the action, and we'll be back at the same time next week to preview Ayr and Newbury.